Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Lena and welcome back to another video. So today, this is not my original idea by any means. This video was it created? Well, I first saw it on Tori's channel, Tori Morrow. Please follow her. She just has this incredible taste. And when I saw this, I was just like, this is so smart. Why I never thought about this? So I'm 100% stealing this from her. Okay? Don't judge me. I love it, Tori. She's just so amazing. I highly recommend that if you like what you see here, you're going to love her because her taste in books is incredible. But yeah, as you can see in the title, today we're going to do the one subgenre, one book. And because Tori did science fiction, I'm going to do fantasy. So fantasy has a shit ton of subgenres, okay? like a lot. A lot. So I picked 6. These are the ones that I read the most, basically. So probably in the future I will do another one with different subgenres, but today we're going to do 6. So the first one is a Grimdark Fantasy. What defines Grimdark is that basically it's a fantasy world but without hope. Every character is just like really great. There's tons of evil shit going on, so yeah, it's a pretty a hopeless place. That's how I differentiate. Is that a word? I don't think so, but that's how I tell Grimdark apart from dark fantasy. Dark fantasy still has hope, but the world is just kind of really evil and dark and such. So for this I have chosen a book that I have talked several times about, but I don't know, I still think so much people should read it. This is Devil's Night Dawning by Damien Black. This is a kind of super chunky grimdark book. Yup. There's not that much hope in this book either, even though we have the order, but you know, things happen. So just to set up the world a little bit, this is a world where we have this order called the Argolian Order, and this is kind of a type of order with several monks, and they basically fight evil magic. Evil magic is a huge thing here, and especially now that the warrior, the barrier between worlds is debilitating, so evil forces are getting into this world. We basically follow a monk and one, how's a word for an apprentice? I don't know. I collect no. There's a word probably, but yeah, we follow Roshka and Adelko. I always fucked the name of the older monk. It's just so hard for me to say for some reason. But yeah, there's some mysterious things happening. There's also a civil war between two kingdoms, and it's just super cool. It's just so cool. This book is so great. I love it. I cannot wait to jump into the third one that came out this year, I think. But it's divided into 2 parts. I still need to get part 2. But yeah, super cool. I would highly recommend this one. So, this is a favorite of mine, okay? And I also love this series. It's just it introduced me to this subgenre and I freaking loved it. So let's just talk about Gunpowder Fantasy. And this is basically a fantasy where you have guns, okay? It's usually more of a type of a muskets type of thing, you know, using the powder. But for this, I'm choosing the one and only Promise of Blood by Brian McLennan. I freaking love this series. I still need to finish, can you see it? You cannot see it. I still need to read the third book in the sequel series, but I have to say the first one is my favorite. One of the characters here, Thomas, is incredible. I freaking adore him. I don't know. I just really not honorable because he's honorable, but what he does in the beginning is not but I love Thomas. That's it. I just love him so much. So okay, this is a tough one to explain because so many things happen in this kind of first half, in the first chapter almost. But we start up the book following Field Marshal Thomas, and you know what? He basically took the king in all the novels and sent them to the guillotine. Isn't Thomas fantastic? Yeah. I mean, he's basically just taking control of everything. He wants to install a new government, and he has a few allies. And he also has his son, Daniel, who is able to use this type of magic related to powder. He's a powder mage, and his special knack is that he can actually kind of control to bullets at the same time. It's really weird. Okay, you need to read it to understand it. But yeah, now all this conflict has also provoked a war with the 9 kingdoms. It's just so many things happening here, but it's great. The opening scene with the other character who is a detective that we follow here, getting into the palace and finding all the nobles dead, and Thomas being just like, well, the Age of King is dead, and I just killed it, and it's just like, whoa, man, it's super intense. I freaking loved it. I think the first one is the kind of weakest of them all, but damn, I cried a bit with the you know, the last one, a little bit, not too much. But it's not the usual for me to just binge read a series. I don't usually do that, but I read the first one, I immediately grabbed the second one, and I immediately jumped into the third one. They were incredible. I love them. So I also have chosen epic fantasy. I mean, I don't need to explain you epic fantasy to you, right? I hope so. But for this, I'm cheating a bit, okay? I'm just in the Grace of Kings by Kim Liu because I just read this and I loved it so much. And now I really just want to talk about this book. I can help it. I'm sorry. But yeah, in this one, we follow Emperor Mapidore, and his dream was always to just unify this land that at the beginning was divided into 7 realms. He just basically went there and conquered all of them by force. So some years have passed and Mapidore is about to die, and you know what? He's concerned because his dream of a unified land might be in danger, and once he dies, basically a revolution is starting, and we're going to follow 2 different characters. One is Kuni, one is Mata. Kuni is a thief, a colonist, anything that you can think of, a gangster sometimes. He's always been ambitious, and you know, I'm just going to leave it at that because so many things happen. And then we're going to follow Mata. Mata is the lost son of one of these kings that used to rule before Mapidore, and he's been trained his whole life basically to take down the empire. And I'm just going to leave it at that. What a great book. Holy shit. This You should check out my Why You Should Read The Grace of Kings video. I will link it. Is it here? No, it's here, right? I think it's here. Could it be? But yeah, I'm sorry, I just can't stop. So the next subgenre that I have is sci fantasy or science fantasy, which is a blend between science fiction and fantasy. It's a really weird thing, okay? It's really hard to explain, but basically it's a fantasy with some kind of science fiction elements. Some elements that were basically more proper for science fiction, but they're just all blend in a fantasy world. So for this, I'm going to choose Senlin Ascends by Isaiah Bancroft. And this is such a curious series. I really need to continue because I have only read the first book, and I think that it has so much potential to become a great series. But basically here we follow Headmaster Thomas Senlin. He's not an adventurer, okay? But when he is on his honeymoon with his bride, well, she gets lost. And the only way to find her is basically to get into this tower called the Tower of Babel. And it's just like the gigantiest, that's not a word, the biggest tower in existence. You cannot see the top of it, and every floor is just like a different thing. It feels kind of different realms. I'm just going to leave it at that because there's one, the theater one. That was so cool. That was the one that grabbed me and was just like, this is so cool. But I would recommend the audiobook. I don't know why, but I kind of struggle a bit with the physical copy. I do believe there's an audiobook, but yeah, I will read the sequel with the audiobook. It's just such a cool concept. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, so I would highly recommend that you try it. Even though you might not love it, I would highly recommend that you try it. So let's just talk about Sword and Sorcery. This is kind of the mostly classic fantasy. Ooh, you can see that. The kind of most classic fantasy genre ever. But I have to tell you, I didn't know the difference between like epic fantasy and Sword and Sorcery. I thought that were mostly the same. But basically in Sword and Sorcery, the stakes are not that as high, like the fate of the world is not depending on our hero's shoulder. That's kind of the main difference. And also swordplay, fights, battle scene, violence. So for this, I'm just going to choose The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski, book 1 in the Witcher series. Tengo público hoy. But this is book 1 in the Witcher, sorry for that, in the Witcher series. And I'm sure that you already know what this is about. We follow Witcher Geralt. He basically hunts down monsters. And let me tell you something. Will I recommend this series? Yes. I have so much love for the Witcher world, but not the book series, if I tell you the truth. I'm more of a lover of the video game, but I really enjoyed the short story collection, both of them. But I'm having like a struggle with the full-length novels. Don't ask me why, because I don't know, but I cannot connect with Andrzej Sapkowski's writing style. I had no issue with it with the short stories, but oof, the full-length novels are dragging for me. So I still have one more to read, Baptism of Fire. So I will read that, and depending on if I like it or not, maybe I won't continue. But I thoroughly enjoyed the first short story collection, so I will highly recommend that. But yeah, I will give you like another option next time I do this video. But yeah, we'll see. I've heard that it actually gets better with the third book, so I still kind of have like high hopes for it. So yeah, but the last one that we are going to discuss today is Portal Fantasy, and for this I could have chosen the Wayward Children. Yes, Portal Fantasy is basically like you're in this world and you go through a portal to a fantasy world, basically. But I'm not going to do that because that's too easy. I'm just going to use the other super obvious answer, okay? So this is the 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. I freaking love this book, okay? Maybe it was because I read it in like the perfect time, but I adored it. I almost cried. Well, I cried, okay. A little bit less, like, the emotion of the last pages was so good. It's just, yeah. In this one, it's kind of a little bit hard to explain because we also have the trope of a book within a book in this one. So, but in this one we follow January, and she's been living with this old white dude for a while her father is basically just working for this guy. So the old man is taking care of her, basically. And one day she finds this book called The 10,000 Doors, and it basically talks about fantasy worlds and where to find doors. And you know what? The thing is that maybe January has already found a door. It's just so cool. I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is not going to be like a book for everyone because it's quite lyrical. It's also quite chunky sometimes and slow. It's not like a full action-packed book, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It has like such a like warm spot in my heart. That doesn't make sense, but yeah, I have so much love for this one. So yeah, that's basically it. It's like a good mixture of everything. Can you see that I read like super dark things, super heartwarming things, then incredible things, and weird things, and incredible things. Oh my god, I love the both image so much. But yeah, that's going to be all for today, basically. Please, do you have recommendations for more Portal Fantasies? I haven't read that many of them, and I'm just like, I really like that trope. Make sure you watch Tori's video because it's incredible. So please, if you have read any of these, you have another recommendation, just let them down in the comments section, below, and I will be so glad. I need more recommendations. Please give me more. But yeah, that's going to be all for today. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.